Hey, this is Chris with Destination Art, and today I'm painting a rose. I'm still on my journey to paint roses better. Here is my reference photo, which I got off the internet somewhere. I took a screenshot, and then I took it into Procreate, and I tried to really map out where the darks are. So my theory that I'm testing today is that if you paint the negative painting with just the interior dark spots, then you'll actually get a rose. So you'll have to let me know if you think I'm successful with this. So I started by laying in a loose colored, lighter background than what I was planning on doing for the rose. And I made it in a regular shape just because I was trying to be artistic. And then put in a lot of greens and some yellows, and I did end up putting in some blues and some splashes of red too, to sort of represent out of focus flowers that are in the background. I did sketch in the rose and tried to lay out where each of the petals were so that I would know the general outline of the rose before I started. Then I tried to do this slightly different than I normally paint a rose. So I love it when artists paint a super loose rose and they just like flick their brush and boom, 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 there's a rose. So I was once again trying to paint this not with realism, but with a little bit more structure, maybe. Anyway, so I started with laying down a mostly flat color of red. And in the reference photo, this, the rose that's in the reference, it's velvety, it's dark, it's luscious. I don't know how to do that with watercolor. I am not that good, I tell you. Anyway, so this is just what the technique that I'm trying today. And so laid in mostly a flat wash of red so that I would have a basis to go back in and put the shadows in when this is dry. When that was drying, I decided to work on the background a little bit more and do some negative painting to represent the stem and the leaves coming out of the rose. And one of the things that you have to be careful of when you are negative painting things like a stem or something like that, the colors you have on one side need to flow into the other side. And so I didn't mix up a lot of paint when I started this, and when I mixed up the second round for the second side, it was way too brown, as you'll see in just a second. So there's a kind of a discontinuity between one side and the other side, and so the way I fixed that in just a second was to try to bring some of that original color over to the second side. And actually I'd mixed up that really dark blue and had just used that under the whole painting, so that would sort of tie it together. I'm not sure if I don't need to go back and correct that one side and add a little bit of brown to that. A tweak I might need to make in a later on. Then I decided it was time to start doing the negative painting and adding in the depth and the shadows. And I think that's one of the challenges with roses as well. You have the form of each petal and the depth that's created and the darkness that's created internally to the rose, but then you also have the shadows that are created. And so one of the things that I would like to study and look at, and that's one of the reasons why I brought everything into Procreate and tried to really map out where the dark spots are, is so that I can kind of get a sense of the depth of the painting and then also the shadows. But this is my first attempt at painting a rose in this manner. And there's some things, I see some mistakes that I made going through, and not just with the structure and the form of each of the petals, but also with my painting my paint application and techniques. Like, so I laid in the dark color here, and then I tried to soften some of the edges. But the challenge is, which edge do you soften? So where do you want the hard edge and the soft edge? And I think it changes from the back to the front. Like there, I'm softening the part that goes up into the petal, and then when you get to the back you have to do downward. No, you don't. And anyway, I obviously still have not figured that out. So anyway, I think it turned out all right. So I am bouncing around trying just to soften some edges, because you want some soft, some hard edges, just to give it some visual interest. And I would like to make it make sense for the viewer on the rose, but I'm not exactly sure, because I think this is only like the 10th rose that I've painted in the last 2 months. And I think you need to paint a whole bunch more before you get better. So anyway, then I decided that I wanted to bump up the color a little bit, so I just added some straight red in there, which is kind of a flat wash, so I'm not exactly sure if I like it or not, but I wanted to brighten up the colors because the original photo, the original painting is just so velvety and beautiful. So anyway, this is my attempt. And then tried to fix some of the shadows again a little bit with some, making sure I shaded things properly. Yeah, that one petal up there was bugging me. Anyway, and here is the final painting. Please like and subscribe. I hope you have a fabulous day, and let me know how you feel about roses.